Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Cringe Squadcast. Sorry that we weren't posting over the last 2 weeks. Um, it's obviously because we were on Christmas break, so we wanted to spend some time with our family. Um, but welcome to the premiere episode of season 2 of the Cringe Squadcast. Um, as we kind of said in the last episode um of season 1, we talked about what the first 5 episodes or 5 or 6 episodes of season 2 would be, and this is going to be our pilot episode. So today I'm joined by Dylan,
Hello.
and he's the only one that would join me today because honestly the topic that we're going to be talking about today, really no one else knows that much on it except for really me and Dylan, and are such big fans of it. And um so yeah, so Dylan, why don't you introduce today's topic?
All right, so today we will be discussing Karate Kid as a franchise, which includes the three original films, the next Karate Kid, the reboot, and then Cobra Kai.
Yeah, so this might be a very long episode, um but we'll find out. So I mean, there's really nowhere else to start except for the original film. So Dylan, why don't you talk about your thoughts on the original Karate Kid released in 1984?
Now, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen it in like 6, 7 years, but what I can remember is that I actually really liked it.
Yeah, I think ob- oh god, objectively it's probably one of the better installments of the franchise compared to what we're going to be talking about in a little bit. Um but yeah, this is a very good film. This was from the same director that did Rocky. So it's kind of in the same in the same like area as Rocky, because
Hold up, Rocky.
yeah, like Sylvester Stallone. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, because I think the only difference is that really just the generic, or like the general plot synopsis is basically the same, with just with some differences, but overall it's the same thing except for that. Obviously for Rocky, it's boxing, and Karate Kid, it's obviously karate. Um, Actually, did you know, Dylan, that the Karate Kid was actually the name was based off of a Marvel comic series,
Huh, I did not.
and that the studio that was making the film actually had to pay for the rights to get the name the Karate Kid to use
Hmm.
in the film.
All right.
I actually did not know about that until I was actually doing research about it. Um,
Sam.
but I think we should go over the cast. So we have Ralph Macchio as
Yes, I can.
oh yeah.
Sorry. Side
Uh,
side conversation.
yes, sorry, conversation. What do you think about Ralph Macchio?
Great for the role.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't see anyone else playing Daniel. Um, and he would obviously reprise his role for the two sequels, uh, or the first two sequels, quote unquote, and obviously Cobra Kai. But we'll get to that later. Um, uh, which I think honestly the best thing about the first four Karate Kid movies is Pap Morita as Mr. Miyagi.
Oh yes.
I mean, you don't want to screw around with Mr. Miyagi. Like
Indeed.
he may look like oh yeah, I could probably kick this guy's ass, but when you try to find him, dude, you're the person that's getting your ass kicked. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate that that Pat Morita is no longer with us. I think he died in like 2008.
I thought it was like
Um,
2005.
oh, was it? Actually, I'm gonna really quickly look that up. but he died before any thoughts about an actual continuation of the series before the and this was actually before the reboot.
Yeah.
Um, let me look at it. Oh yeah, you're right. Though, November
Yeah.
24th of
Oh god.
2005. So yeah. Actually, before Karate Kid, he was actually I think he was a guest star on Happy Days.
Oh.
So he went from basically a comedy role to a very serious role in um um like to a very serious role in Karate Kid. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think of Ally, played by Elizabeth Shue?
Another person who's great for the role, in my opinion.
Yeah, she would
It's also very hyped up to be in the third season of Cobra Kai.
mhm. That caught me completely off guard, by the way. But again, we'll talk about that when we get to the Cobra Kai section. Um, but but yeah, Elizabeth Shue would actually go on to play to replace the original actress for Jennifer in Back to the Futures Part 2 and 3. Because the original actress Claudia Wells left the role to go take care of his mother because I think she had breast cancer. So Claudia Wells left the Jennifer role to go and take care of her, and Elizabeth Shue took over that role. So yeah. What do you think of Johnny?
Also another great character.
Yeah, I think really every single role in the film is well cast. Johnny was played by someone named William Zepka. Is that how you say his last name?
I'm not sure.
Um, but uh, it's yeah, he does a great role as the bully to Daniel. Have you seen the video where like I think this guy was talking about how Daniel is the real bully? It's like probably like one of the most like viewed Karate Kid internet videos ever.
Yeah.
Um, but um, I'm trying to think of like who else would be important to talk about. Um, but I just think overall, um, that that this film is a great film that I think everyone should go and watch. Um, and I can only say that this is certainly better than some of the sequels that will be that would come out after this film. Um, and is like I said earlier, I think it's one of the best points of the Karate Kid franchise. But let's move on to Karate Kid 2, released in 1986. What is your personal thoughts about Karate Kid 2, Dylan?
Like I said earlier, I have not seen these movies for several years. But like the last one, I remembered really enjoying this one.
Mm-hmm. Um, again, John Avildsen did return to direct this sequel. Um, um, and I think, I mean, I see people, not overall, but sometimes they just kind of sometimes write this one off as being, uh, not as good as the original. And now I could see that. Like, yeah, it's not as good, but it's a damn good sequel. It follows the storyline very well, and I think, I mean, Granley, uh, if you really watch the first film, it doesn't really seem like
Yeah,
it,
I'm gonna be muted. Or
um,
yeah.
it doesn't really seem like it should have a sequel because it's kind of just very bookended. But the fact that there was a sequel doesn't really bother me because the sequel is surprisingly very good.
Yeah.
Um, everyone who was in the first film that's returning, like Ralph Macchio and Pap Morita, they do great as usual. But let's talk about the new cast members. So, what do you think of Sato, who is Mr Miyagi's brother?
I honestly don't really remember much about him.
Uh, yeah, he was because they what he basically what he did was like he converted the the small town that they go to into like they kind of just it's just like a work labor town kind of but he I guess spoilers he does see the error of his ways and he does essentially turn into a good guy about near the end of the second act. But I think he did a superb job with the material that he's given, and I think uh, I think he did pass away. Yes, he did on May 2nd of 1996. So
Oh
10 years
wow, that
after.
was a while ago.
Yes, like 10 years after the film, after this film got released. Um, what do you think of Chosen?
Chosen, that was a great character.
Yeah, I don't think he's as good of a as good of a character as Johnny from the first film, but
Yeah.
god damn, dude, he's intimidating. Which I think that's kind of what Johnny was lacking. Like Johnny was just seemed like a face value. It just seems like he's a generic bully. But Chosen, he kind of just like right off the bat, he just wants to kick the crap out of Daniel when they arrived in Okinawa.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like even Daniel kind of like I mean he says it's like what the like what did I ever do to you? I literally just arrived, and he's like because and he's like well basically you're like does he actually explain like why he just hates Daniel?
Not that I remember.
Because I don't think he ever does. I think he just starts beating the crap out of
I
him.
think he just sees him as another rival.
I mean, yeah, I guess like they got that's a way of saying. What do you think of Kimoko?
Who's that again?
Uh, the girl that that Daniel falls in love with when they go to
Alright.
Okinawa.
I kind of assume so. But yeah, another character I don't really remember much of, but in Cobra Kai seemed like a great character.
Hmm. Which again we'll talk about when we get to the third season of Cobra Kai. But in this film, I think she does a very good performance.
Yeah.
Um, and um, that's really about it for
Yeah.
the cast of this. Bottom line for me personally, I think this is a great sequel that I think everyone should go like if you want to see like something like what happens after the first film, I think the second film is a great follow up. Um but now we're kind of we're diving into regret now. Are you ready to talk about this, Dylan?
Yep.
All right. Karate Kid Part 3 released in 1989, which was a pretty big year for films. I mean, we had, we had Star Trek 5, we had The Last Crusade. We had like a whole bunch of big blockbuster movies, but obviously the biggest one that year was Batman. Um but oh boy, this film, I'm sorry, this is just utter crap. Like, oh my Jesus. Don't why don't you? first talk about your experiences with this film, because oh god,
Well, definitely not as good as the first two. I mean, I think that might be an understatement,
it's definitely an understatement.
but yeah, it's
It's so sad to see like the quality of like the first film and even the second film just get basically crapped on by this film. I mean, Pat Morita, I mean,
I mean,
still
I feel
great
like it
as
was a
usual.
good idea. Like the plot of the film, they just didn't really deliver it that well.
Mhm. Um. Um. I mean, yeah, like I said, Pat Morita is still great as usual. Ralph Macchio, I think he's about like in his late 20s by this point, and for some reason in this film, he just has complete goddamn like mood changes from different like each scene. Like one moment he'll be like completely like fine, he'll be like Samuel Daniel, and then next scene he's pissed off.
Oh yeah, and he got like mad at Mr. Miyagi, right?
Well, yeah, cause well we're gonna get to this later. But like his um, cause I think Mr Miyagi's like trying to tell him like this isn't right. Like the teacher that you're training under is like evil. And he's like you don't know what you don't know what he's like, and he just gets pissed off at him. But like that's not even like the worst of it. I mean, at least that's somewhat like in the plot. Like I'll give it credit for that. But there's like other scenes in the movie when they're like I think they're trying to like make the bonsai tree store. Um, like initially, like Daniel's like here, like we're gonna open up this bonsai tree store and we're gonna make money. And then like the next scene, he's pissed off. Like what the hell happened?
Yeah,
Um, I mean, I didn't really mention him in the first or second movie. I mean, especially the first movie, but Martin Cove as John Crease. What do you think about him in
ooh,
all three films? Even though the second film it's more or less a cameo.
very intimidating.
Is he intimidating? He seems like especially in like in the
I
like
mean, you wouldn't want to
in
go
the
near
original
that guy,
trilogy.
like causing
He
problems, you know?
no no. Well, I was gonna say is like in the especially in the original trilogy, he seems a really over the top villain.
Yeah,
I mean, at least in Cobra Kai when they bring him back, he's at least somewhat intimidating. In these three films, he's like I don't know what he did. I mean, nothing wrong with the performances in general, but he just seems like a goofball, just trying to act intimidating. Like especially in this film, where he calls up his friend Terry Silver, played by Thomas Ian Griffin, which is next to Mr. Miyagi. He's probably the best part about this movie
yeah,
by far. Um, but it's strictly for the fact that he is playing the scenes up with comedic timing that is just it's funny. It's hella funny. Which I'm like, is this what I'm supposed to be getting out of Karate Kid film? Is laughter? No, it should be kind of serious. Cause this is a drama action film. I don't need to be laughing at the performances. You know? I should be getting serious and be like, oh crap, maybe Daniel might get his ass kicked. But no, I'm laughing because of these characters are acting like goofballs.
yeah. Especially like Crease when they're trying to trap Daniel inside the dojo.
With Mike Barnes played by Sean Kennan.
Yeah,
Um. Oh yeah, and by the way, what billionaire that because Terry Silver literally goes like he's like cancel this meeting for the next few months. I'm going strictly revenge. You're gonna take revenge on a teenager. This shows you how stupid the script is. Because it's like, what the hell? Um, but I gotta admit, throughout all three of these movies, besides Pat Morita in this film, like in all three of them, but besides Pat Morita in this film, especially Thomas Ian Griffin. The saving grace for this film, and kind of for what benefited the other ones, but what really saves this film, is the score by Bill Conti.
Oh yeah.
It is. It's probably one of the best 80s scores that I've ever heard for a trilogy like this, right next to the Back to the Future trilogy. Some of the best well-written music for a series that I have ever thought of is the final fight in this film, when Daniel and Miyagi, like, Daniel gets knocked down and Miyagi's trying to talk to him, like, it like I forgot what he says, but he's like, don't let fear control you. Let fear be like the driving force, kind of. And then
Yeah.
he gets up, and then like the build up of the music when he's trying, because each film has like a certain technique that allows him to win. In the first film, it's the crank kick, probably the most
Second
iconic.
one's the drum.
Yeah, the drum technique. This film, I forgot what it was, but it's basically, I don't know how exactly to describe it, but each film has like a certain technique that allows them to win. But like
Yeah.
it just, you could hear the music like building up, and then when he finally defeats Barnes, it's like hella triumphant, and it's just like, this is the saving grace of the film. But I can at least laugh at this film, and and have some great performances in it. Like I said, Pap Morita, Thomas Ian Griffin. Even when Daniel, besides Daniel LaRusso being annoying sometimes, I can still watch the film and be like, I want to root for him.
Yeah.
Certainly not to be said for this next one. Oh boy.
Oh god.
To end off the 90s for Karate Kid, we have the next Karate Kid, released in 1994, starring Pat Morita and Hilary Swank. Dylan, why don't you discuss your opinions on this film?
This movie was 100% a money grabber.
Ugh, you got that damn right. I'm sorry for anyone who likes this film. I'm really sorry. But this film is absolute shit. I don't think Bill Conti returned to do the score for this film. I don't think so. Um, but we have. Oh no, Bill Conti did return to do the score for this film. Um,
Ah, that's one thing good they got going for them, I guess.
honestly, I don't even remember any of the score from this film. It's that, like, this film is that bad.
It's one
Um,
of the more forgettable ones.
no, this is the bottom of the goddamn barrel. I'm sorry, but this is absolute crap. I don't know how anyone could like this movie. Um, I think really the only things that save the film for me is Pat Morita as usual. This being his final Karate Kid role.
Yeah.
Still pulls off a great performance. And Michael Ironside is in this film as Colonel Dugan. What the hell is that name? He's
I
basically
barely remember anything about this film, by the way.
good, because it's not even worth trying to think about. Because, ugh. But, yeah, I think really, for me, it's Pat Morita, Michael Ironside, and the music that really saves this film. Hilary Swank, um, let's see what her film catalog is. Uh, from Boys Don't Cry, gets shot through the head, dead. $1 Million Baby, gets into a boxing match, snaps her neck on a stool, I think, and subsequently dies. And yeah, so
Oh, I got
really,
stuffy nose.
really, her most famous roles besides this film involve death and her dying. So when you have that going for you, you really only have shit to go off of.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't think her performance is that bad, but at least with Daniel, he seemed. I mean, yeah, he's a teenager. He's gonna act rebellious sometimes, but at least with him, there was actually some really cool moments with him. Like he was actually showing off to be a badass. Hilary Swank in this movie, I'm sorry, but she's an absolute. I mean, I can't say it or else we're demonetized. But she is an absolute
We're not even
bitch.
monetized.
Bitch. I can't. Screw it. She.
Russell,
I'm sorry.
you've said words in the podcast.
It's just, I don't want to. I didn't want to bring that up, but sure. She's a bitch. I'm sorry, but she is in goddamn sufferable in this film.
I
Like
thought you just
literally.
said she wasn't that bad. You changed your mind?
Yeah, but there's yeah, in one or two scenes. The rest of the film, she's a teen that really does not give a shit about karate, and only starts like doing karate within 2/3 of the way through the movie, and then somehow wins against the bad guy, like against her bully, which I don't even remember the name of, because he was that generic and that boring. Like I don't even want to talk about this movie anymore. Bottom line, worst Karate Kid movie, and worst thing to ever happen to the Karate Kid franchise. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but this is if you want to get absolute dog crap from a Karate Kid film, you go to this film. It is insufferable. Uh, really quickly before we get on to the reboot, sometime in between the third film and the next Karate Kid, there was an animated TV show that I think only lasted 14 episodes.
That's I never even heard of that until you told me a while ago.
Yeah. I gotta admit though, it has one of the most catchiest theme tunes to a cartoon I have ever like seen. Oh yeah, no. So yeah, this came out basically right after the third movie came out, and I mean obviously I don't want to play it in case we do get a copyright strike. Um, but the theme. I mean, you can probably easily look it up, the theme up on YouTube, but it's one of the most catchiest theme tunes ever. Um, unfortunately, Ralph Macchio and Pap Morita did not reprise their roles for this. It is Joey Didoa. I'm sorry if I butchered that name as Daniel, and Robert Ito as Mr. Miyagi. And as far as I can get from the show is that there's like this ancient shrine that gets stolen, and the main girl of the show, uh, Tikal Tamara, that's the actual character's name. Um, she like calls on Daniel and Miyagi to help her retrieve the shrine. I think it only ran for 14 episodes. I think. Oh, wow, actually, it's 13 episodes. So it was short. But yeah, really, I think. I mean, if it wouldn't hurt to watch the TV show, but grandly, I mean, personally, I haven't seen the show, so I can't really make an opinion off of it. But I mean, if you want to watch the cartoon, then go right ahead. Um, but there is a better TV show, The Karate Kid, that you can watch. That again, we will discuss in a little bit. But for now, let's move on to the 2000s, more specifically the 2010s.
Oh, what was that, Ryan?
Uh, where the workaround for well this was really where the reboot craze started to kick afloat, especially with like horror movies. Like Halloween 2007, Friday the 13th in 2009, I think, and then A Nightmare on Elm Street in 2010. So a lot of reboots were happening around the 2000s and the 2010s, like the early 2010s. And so in
Mm.
2010 we had The Karate Kid from obviously 2010. They didn't decide just to have it Karate Kid, but literally have it the exact same name as the original. So yeah, that's cool. But really quickly, don't want to take over for a bit and discuss your personal thoughts on this on the 2010 reboot, and I'll be back.
I actually kind of liked it. I mean, it wasn't that bad. Obviously, it had some work to be done, but all in all, it wasn't that bad. And I will be right back too. Subscribe.
All right, I'm back.
All right.
So Dylan, did you discuss your personal thoughts on, or
Yeah.
have you seen the film?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think about Jaden Smith in the film?
I think they did pretty good.
Yeah, because I honestly thought it was gonna be like him being in goddamn insufferable, but no, he was actually tolerable for once in a film, and he actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Um, so well, obviously we don't have Daniel LaRusso in this adaptation, but we have Drew Parker, obviously played by Jaden Smith, and we have Mr. Hand played by the wonderful Jackie Chan. Um, so what do you think about Jackie Chan in the film?
Perfect for the role.
Yeah. Now, see, here's the real question for you, Dylan. Um, so we're gonna compare both. We're gonna compare like the teacher and the student. So we're gonna compare Mr. Hand to Mr. Miyagi. So Jackie Chan versus Pap Morita, and we're gonna compare the student Dre Parker versus Daniel LaRusso. So Ralph Macchio versus Jaden Smith. So why don't we start off with the main character? Um, which one do you think is better, Ralph Macchio or Jaden Smith?
I think obviously rough Macchio. I mean, you just can't go wrong with the classics.
Yeah, but again, like we said, Jaden Smith didn't do that bad.
Yeah.
But like Dylan said, you can't compete with the classics. Now, here's where it gets like actually really like hard to decide. Mr. Han versus Mr. Miyagi. Which one is better?
Hmm.
See, now this one's way harder now because they're both very good. Um, I think personally, I think that Mr. Miyagi got. I think that Pat Morita got the wiser side of the teacher a lot better, and I think that Jackie Chan got the emotional side way better,
Yeah.
especially with the scene where both Jane Smith and and Jackie are in the car, and
Yeah. I remember that one.
um they're talking about how or Mr. Hand start talking about how his wife and his kid died in a car accident
Yeah.
because what did he say, like they were having like him and his wife were having an argument and then they crashed, and the just him pulling off the scene, it makes me cry every single time I watch that scene. And there's a scene like that in the original when I think it's Daniel's birthday, I think, and like when Daniel leaves and then I think he comes back to like the dojo and he finds Mr. Miyagi like in his old army outfit, and he's drunk, like he's pissed drunk, talking about how his wife died at childbirth,
Mm,
and his child died with her. And I mean, yeah, that's
yikes.
sad, but I gotta admit, I'm sorry, but the way that Pat Morita delivers the scene being pissed drunk. I'm sorry, but it just takes me out of the mood. Like I get that this is sad, but I'm on the verge of laughing because I'm trying to be emotional here, but he's this is funny. But with Mr. Han and talking about how his wife and his child died in a car crash, and you see that raw emotion from Jackie shows that this is probably, in my personal opinion, his best acting role out of everything that he's done.
Yeah.
And I think it's so close for making me choose Mr. Han over Mr. Miyagi, but again, who does not love Mr. Miyagi? So even though it's unlike the Jaden Smith versus Ralph Macchio, this is a very close call, but I personally have to go with Mr. Miyagi over Mr. Han. But it was a very close call. What about you, Dylan?
I agree 100%.
Um, what do you think about Shane or Chang, who is basically this film's version of the bully, like Johnny, but in this
Mm,
one it's obviously since they're in what is it, like Japan, China? I think it's China, isn't it?
um,
Oh, yeah,
I,
no, it is China.
alright.
Um,
Um, I didn't like it as much as uh, Johnny Lawrence.
yeah, because obviously, like he doesn't. I don't think he has any English speaking rules, like any English words that he says in this movie. I think it's all Chinese. So, I mean, obviously, with us, since we're both American, it's kind of hard for us to understand. I mean, yeah, you could obviously have subtitles on, but really, do we want to read the subtitles to understand what he's saying? I mean, I get that, like, they obviously, like, Jane, like, Dre, like, uh, like, Jane Smith's, like, family, like, and him and his mother go to China, so obviously everyone's not gonna know English. But still, it's just, like, it's kind of distracting. Like, I'm trying to, like, get in the movie, but I have to read subtitles. And it's like, oh, it's kind of annoying. Um, which about, but yeah, personally, I think the one thing that I personally think it's better about this, about him than Johnny from the first film, is kind of like the same thing I had with, um, um, where like I think that Johnny, I mean, yeah, he's way more kind of serious than Crease in the first film, but besides that, he's kind of just a generic bully. This kid is terrifying. Like, seriously.
That reminds
Uh,
me of like Chosen.
yeah, it's a very chosen like character, and like the worst part about or like the scarier part about this kid is that with Chosen, he actually speaks English. Like Chosen, like you can understand what he's saying. This kid, you don't know what he's saying. I mean, obviously, unless you read the subtitles, but just think about it on the onset. You go to China, you see this kid, like just say he's roughly the same age as you. You don't understand what the hell he's talking about, and then he just starts beating the crap out of you. You're like, whoa, 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 what the hell did I do? And it's terrifying. What do you
Yeah.
think about Master Lee, who's basically the John Crease of this film?
Mm. Definitely not as memorable as Crease, because
Yeah,
I don't know. Crease is just
yeah, I think Crease is a way more memorable character. than Master Lee, but he's still memorable.
Yeah.
What do you think about the mother for this film, Sherry?
I don't really remember too
She
much.
she's kind of annoying. I gotta admit, like especially with like when Mr. Hand like teaches Dre about the coat off coat on technique, which is basically this film's version of like the wax on and wax off. But like
Yeah.
I think um like I think it's like there's like one scene where like he's which where Smith is like doing karate in or like kung fu in like the living room, and then the mother comes in and she's like, "Can you please put your coat on the hanger?" And he's like, "1 second, mom," and he's like, "Put the coat on the hanger," and it's like, Jesus Christ, shut up. Um, and I think that's really the only problem. I mean, yeah, there's tiny problems throughout the film, but I can easily ignore them. But I think the biggest problem with me just has to do with the title. I mean, in the first film, it
Oh
makes
yeah.
sense because he's
The
actually learning
kung
karate.
fu.
But this film, they're learning kung fu. It's
Yeah.
not karate, but grandly, kung fu kid doesn't have the same like ring to it as karate kid.
Yeah. We'll just let it slide.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, I've noticed people say that as well. It's like, why isn't it called the kung fu kid instead of karate kid? It doesn't make any goddamn sense. But besides, like I said, besides the title, which again I can easily look over, and some minor plot details, I think overall, I think this is a good remake, which is saying something, especially with like 95% of remakes are absolute garbage. This is actually a good remake. What you
Yeah.
think about it, Dylan?
I agree.
All right,
Honestly.
so we're gonna go on to the final subject for today's video is um will be all 3 seasons currently of the new Netflix series Cobra Kai. Now,
Well, it's not really new. I mean, it's like 2018.
did I say new?
Yeah.
Uh, um,
Whatever. I mean, I guess
yeah, it
it's
doesn't really
relatively
matter.
new.
Um, so what is your um? I want okay for this section, Dylan. This is obviously a multi-season TV show. I want you to go over each season, not into depth, fully, but um each season as a whole, and tell the audience what was your personal opinions on all 3 seasons. So let's start off with season one.
Okay, so obviously season one was just, introducing everyone, and the main plot was basically just them getting ready for the tournament and
Yeah.
trying to get students into their dojo.
Mhm.
I think it was a really strong starting season. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree. Um. Obviously, the main two that return for the first season is Ralph Macchio and William Zecca as Johnny Lawrence and as Daniel Lewis, so respectively. Um, for the teenagers, which okay, to ask you personally, Dylan, who do you think is the main character of the show?
Probably Johnny.
Okay, well, because I was about to say like it's really you can't really pick one because it's like especially with like these later seasons, it's like it's really hard to try and figure out who it's trying to focus on like centrally. Because
I mean, there's like
mainly in the
four
first season,
main characters.
yeah, I think I
Eh,
think there's like well, like just out of curiosity, what do you think are the 4 main characters?
Johnny, Daniel, Miguel, and Sam.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say like I think there's well, I guess yeah, you could say that, but I think for the first season, I
Oh,
think the
I'm just talking
main.
about the show in general.
Wait, no, I get that, but I'm just saying for the first season, just saying it as a whole, the first season, Johnny is the main character.
Yeah, and a little bit Miguel.
Hmm. But yeah, Season 2, it started. I mean, the beginning of the season, like I say, the first 4 episodes are still focused on Johnny. But as the series or as the season slowly progresses, it starts actually leaning more towards Daniel's side,
Yeah.
which personally I think actually for me personally improved the show a bit. I mean, just like yeah, I actually like seeing Johnny as an adult and seeing what he's done, and obviously reopening Cobra Kai and stuff like that. But really, after Crease returns to the show, I believe. Well, yeah, because like the season 1 finale showed Crease returning to the valley, and season 2 is kind of like the beginning point of their quote unquote working relationship,
Yeah.
which only really happens for like for like a few episodes, and then they split off. Well, actually, no, it's
Yeah.
like for like the full season technically. It's only in like the last like 2 episodes where they kind of just not where they break their working relationship apart.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I personally like the fact that it starts actually leaning towards more Daniel being the main character because technically it is. If you really think about it,
Yeah.
um, I mean, especially with the first 3 movies, him being the main character, and then obviously next Karate Kid not being there. I mean, the cartoon. Really, does anyone remember that? Besides like real Karate Kid nerds. And then the reboot happened. Obviously, it's a reboot, so you can't have Daniel returning. And then the season 1 comes pops up on Netflix, and then you have Johnny as the main character, which is cool and all, but you kind of just shove Daniel off to the side. And I love the fact that, especially in season 3, they made him really an important character. I mean, he always is, even from season 1. But in season 1, he kind of just seemed they made him into a dick a bit.
Yeah,
Um,
especially with him seeing Johnny for the first time at the car dealership.
hmm But I think the writers did see that, like they were like, oh yeah, we're kind of writing this character to be kind of a douche. So maybe we should make him more like his teenage self.
Well, no, I think they purposely made him like that at first. Maybe.
Oh, okay. But we have Courtney Hendrick. I don't know how to say the last name, but he plays Amanda Larissa, who is Daniel's wife.
Wait, he?
I okay. You really just you had to bring that up, man.
It's like the second time. But it doesn't matter.
Um,
Continue.
but yeah, she plays Daniel's wife. What'd you think about Amanda?
Uh, I mean, I guess like sometimes she'll say something that we don't want to hear, but we know is right.
Mm,
Like actually a lot of the time.
yeah. Um. So personally, who was your favorite character?
It's between Johnny and Miguel, which I know sounds cliche, but it just is.
Okay. Personally, for me, I actually have to go with Daniel and Sam because I think their chemistry throughout the whole season or throughout the whole series as of now is very good.
So we got two different sides here.
Um. Not. I don't think I. I'm. I'm. I'm guessing this for no one, but I'm not. We're not saying that the other side is like the worst characters ever. We're not saying that at all. We actually, I mean, for me personally, I think that Johnny and Miguel are also really good characters as well. But I just think for me personally, um, I feel a stronger connection between Daniel and Sam because
I I I think it's a stronger connection between Johnny and Miguel.
because I could see that Sam actually goes through an arc throughout the whole season, or like the series as a whole. Because in the first season, she's kind of. I mean, granted, I haven't seen the first two seasons in a while. I'm really more. I'm really more like refreshed on the third season, but um, I think like the first season, she's known as Daniel's child, so they're like, hey, dude, yeah, you're like your father like hit that guy's ass in the All Valley tournament. And then second season, it's still like that, somewhat. Um, and then obviously the season two finale happens, and then by the beginning of season three, everyone's just kind of looking at her like, oh, dude, there's Sam. Like, oh, you better watch your back. Like, and then she's um, I don't know if you kind of saw this, but for me personally, I especially around like the middle to like end of the season when um when something bad happens to one of the kids that went to Miyagi Do, she's really like I mean even from the start of the season when she grabs onto the rail and you see her like starting to flash back to like the season two finale,
Yeah.
you can see like that starting to come through. But I think when
PTSD.
yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. I think she's going through massive PTSD. Um, which for some of our younger viewers out there, if you guys don't know what it is, I just want to share this right now. It's post traumatic stress disorder. Just want to state that out right now. Um, and we're not promoting that. We're just explaining that in the context of this story. I just want to clarify that. Um, but I think for me personally, especially in the third season, she goes through a massive arc, especially with like we said PTSD, where um she sees like one of her friends like get injured, and um she explains this with like uh her mother and her father, like Daniel and Amanda, and like especially in the hospital when she's in the hospital and then the mother arrives and she's like, you got into another fight, like what is wrong with you? And then you can see she just breaks, and she's like they I forgot what that one do you know what that one kid's name was? I don't want to say it right now because maybe some people haven't seen season 3 yet, so I don't want to spoil anything.
Are you talking about Dimitri?
Is that the kid that gets that happened to? I don't want to say it, but do you know what
Yeah,
I'm talking about?
it's Dimitri.
Dimitri. He's like she you know the scene I'm talking about, right? Like in the hospital
Yep.
where like she just full on just breaks. And she starts like crying to her like a mom, like I couldn't, I had to sit there and watch what happened to him. I could not do anything. I just sat there and watched it. And
Yeah.
then, and this is really intensified by when she goes on that day with Daniel, like the dad, like or her dad, and she just lays it out to him, like I could not do anything. I just sat there and watched. And she's like, you don't know what I went through. And he goes, actually, yeah. And they went back to the they go back to the basketball field, and then
Basketball field.
the basketball gym. Shut up.
You mean the All Valley Gym or All Valley Sports Stadium?
Is that what it's actually called?
Yeah, it's
Because
the All
again, I
Valley
haven't seen the
Sports
first two.
Stadium.
I mean, yeah, this happens in the third season, but I think it's established in the first two seasons. And like I said, I haven't watched those in a while.
Or
But
All Valley Sports Arena is what it's
yeah,
called. I remember.
um, but yeah, I guess we could slightly mention this. Like it's not really any major spoilers, but season 3 of Cobra Kai really references. I mean, season 1 it references the first film, especially because obviously it's the start, so they need to establish what happened.
Yeah.
Season 2 really didn't have any of like references. It's more just like it's like trying to make a self-contained story, which I have no problem with, but
Obviously, it
it,
might have had like a couple here and there,
yeah, but
but
it
not
was
as
kind of like
major.
it was very hidden. But season 3, it it kind of brought back to what season 1 did with the first film, like with the references. But season 3, what that did was it made explicit references to Karate Kid 2 and 3. Um. So. Um. Um. Like they made it. I think there's a whole plot point in the middle of the the middle of the third season. I think, right? Um. Where it makes explicit, like it's literally just saying like um it's literally saying, hey, here's the right, like here's what we're talking about for Karate Kid 2. And again, I don't want to
Also,
spoil anything, but it's like here's our tribute to the second movie, and it's
also,
amazing.
they had a tribute to the first movie, and it was the last episode of that season is called December 19th, which, if you remember, is the date that Johnny and Daniel competed in the All Valley Under 18 karate
Oh,
tournament.
wait, really? I did not get that reference. Crap.
Yeah, I was thinking
Dang.
about it yesterday. I was like, hold up.
I
Starting
actually
one
did not
episode
get
was
that
called
reference.
December
Dang.
19th, and now I realize it was the same day that Johnny and Danny, or what?
Danny? Yo, it's like Daniel Lorster. It's like, hey, my boy Danny.
or what?
Oh
Just
my
get that
god.
out.
No, but no, we're not gonna cut that out. This is all
I
gonna
mean,
be
I'm kidding.
raw.
I'm kidding.
um, um, but, um, but yeah, I think, yeah. I did not catch that reference, but yeah, like I said, the whole like the middle of the season really is uh a big tribute to the second film, and then which episode? I know it wasn't the last one, but which episode was it when they actually went to like the basketball gym thing? Um,
Let me see if I can find that.
I think it was like it was like I know it was like like a very late episode into the season, like episode 7, 8, or maybe even the ninth episode. It was somewhere around there because I know it definitely happened after that Daniel returned from where he went to.
Yeah, it's definitely like episode 6 through 8, like somewhere in that.
Yeah. Um. But yeah. But yeah. Somewhere near the end of the season, they actually. I did not see this coming because I knew that the third season was gonna be really kind of pointed around the second movie. But I wasn't expecting a reference to the third movie. I was like, oh crap! Like that was clever.
And
Um.
also, remember at the end of the season where Crease was on the phone?
Oh yeah, no, because they yeah, no, I remember that.
I think he might be trying to call Terry Silver, maybe.
Oh, for the fourth season, damn.
Terry Silver, maybe Mike Barnes will make an appearance.
Oh, maybe.
That would be cool.
I mean, there is in the teaser, I believe for the third season, it did say that season 4 was in training. So that basically
Yeah.
confirmed that we were gonna have a third and fourth season. I mean, obviously we had the third season now. But maybe that is what might be planned on happening for season 4. Um,
Yeah.
um, but but yeah. Um, so we're actually about to go over an hour on this episode, but granted, there's so much to talk about for this topic that it kind of needed to be over an hour.
Yeah,
But
I think we're reaching the home stretch right about now.
yeah, but what let's go for each piece of we're gonna go for each piece of Karate Kid media, going from starting with the original movie, going all the way up to the most recent thing, which is season 3, going through all the stuff that we watched throughout the franchise and picking out our favorite moment and for Cobra Kai, we're gonna do one moment from each season. All right, Dylan.
All
So
right.
starting off with the first film, Karate Kid. What was your favorite moment, or what was your favorite scene?
I think this is kind of obvious. The crane kick.
Yeah, that was so set up in the like during the course of the movie, and then that's probably the most one of the most iconic things from the series is the crane kick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I personally have to agree. Karate Kid Part 2. What was your favorite moment from that?
Hmm. Live or die, man.
Yeah, dude, I think the whole final fight. I think it's obvious, but for all three original movies,
Yeah,
the
I
final
think we
fights were
just
great.
conclude all three original movies. The the final fight is probably
Yeah.
the best.
Um, which again, they call back to in the third season of Cobra Kai. Um, but Karate Kid Part 3. I mean, I've already said it. Really, for me personally, I think my favorite part about that film, besides Mr Miyagi, is Thomas. Any scene that Thomas Ian Griffin is in the movie, it's great. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, obviously, besides the final fight, um, yeah. But what do you think is your favorite moment from Karate Kid Part 3?
Well, like I said earlier, probably the final fight
All right.
where Daniel wins the tournament.
Yep. What about the next Karate Kid? Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, let's just skip
Besides,
that.
besides again, besides Pat Morita, fantastic. We miss you, buddy. Um, we're gonna skip over the cartoon series since obviously me and Dylan haven't watched it. But we're gonna go from next Karate Kid to the reboot. So, what was your favorite scene from the reboot?
Well, I like the training montage, but I
Oh
also
yeah,
also
the final
obviously
fight.
liked when he won. Yeah.
Yeah, final fight. Um, I think personally for me, besides the final fight, my favorite scene would be the training montage, but also like I said earlier, the the scene where they're both in the car and he's
Oh
talking
yeah.
about how like his wife and his child died, and like
Yeah.
greatest performance by Jackie Chan ever, besides any martial arts scene that he does. That's best favorite moment from Jackie Chan ever. Um, and then, like I said earlier, we're gonna go through each season of Cobra Kai and picking out one favorite scene from each
That's
season.
okay.
So, season one favorite scene.
When Miguel beat up Kyler and all the other guys in the cafeteria.
Oh yeah, yeah, but yeah, I like that scene a lot. Season two,
School fight.
yeah, the season two finale, epic as hell. Um, and then season three.
LaRusso house fight. Oh, actually, and Johnny and Daniel versus Crease. Those two tied.
Wait, did they fight Crease?
Yes.
Oh yeah, 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 no, yeah. What am I talking about? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That whole fight, that was brutal.
Dude, when Daniel used the freaking pressure points that Chosen taught him,
Yeah.
you knew it was over.
Um. So yeah. So Dylan, overall opinions on the Karate Kid franchise? What?
Amazing.
Yeah. Like we said, over the last hour we were talking about this. There was some duds.
Nope,
Some
duds.
very massive duds. But overall,
That's what he said.
it was a fun. What the? It was a fun ride. Um, and we hope that there is a fourth season of Cobra Kai, which I think is most likely happening. But obviously, we have to wait until COVID-19 is over. Um, but yeah, so thank you, Dylan, for joining me on this episode. And why don't you hint the audience to what next week's episode will be?
Well, like usual, I don't know.
I can't look at it. Well, actually, what am I doing? Yes, I can. Uh, pinned. Um. Oh, okay. So next week's episode will be School Stories episode part 2.
Oh, yes. This is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much gonna have everyone on this episode. Hopefully.
Yeah, we're
Um.
gonna do our best.
Yep. And so yeah. So I mean, you guys can basically tell what the next few weeks are for season 2, and we'll hopefully have some more episodes by then.
Yeah,
By next week, we'll probably have hopefully 4 or 5 more episodes planned out. But
yeah.
we'll find out. But yeah, anyway, guys. Stay tuned for next week for School Stories Part 2. We have like as usual, if you guys want to be on a future episode of the Cringe Squadcast, or you want to suggest an idea, leave it down in the comments down below. Um, we really do appreciate everything that you suggest to us. Um, so yeah, so yeah, leave a comment down below if you want to suggest an idea for a future episode, or if you want to be on a future episode of the podcast. Leave it down in the comments down below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon for future notifications. For future episodes when they are coming out. And so yeah, don't you want to mention anything before we end off today's episode?
Happy New Year's.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year's to everyone, and so long for now.
See ya.
Bye.